You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Badges? We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Would you be shocked if I put on something more comfortable?
You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. If you're listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, and basically anywhere you get your podcasts. As usual, as always, as forever, I'm Paul, and with me in the studio today is Shawn. Shawn, how are you today?
I'm in the studio today.
Next week, we're not so sure.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on next week.
I'm taking interviews, new podcast host.
You look a little stressed, Paul.
I am not stressed even a little bit.
That's the face of hosting 3 podcasts in a row, and
it's gonna be a long day. I'm psyched. So you're getting me at the peak right now.
I'm getting you first.
You always get me first, Shawn.
Oh, there you go.
You always get me first, mostly because that's your work schedule.
Rob's getting you sloppy seconds.
Gross.
But you'll do fine.
Yep. But so we are here. We're continuing our Halloween themed month.
I can't believe we're already halfway through October.
I mean. Yeah, time's flying, and we're finally tackling.
2 weeks from today is Halloween.
Oh my God! Like to the day, yeah.
To the day, 2 exact weeks.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure we don't light any candles that night. You get what I said? You get it?
I got it.
Okay, because of the movie we're talking about.
Yeah, but you haven't said what movie we're talking about.
Oh, by the way, we're talking about the 1993.
It's right there on the computer screen.
I'm actually doing all the podcast work on my computer screen, but thank you so much, Shawn.
I'm sorry, I meant it was on my computer screen.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, the 1993. Cult classic?
I think that's a fair statement.
The cult classic at this point, or one of the better
known?
Well,
it's definitely more of a cult classic than Nightmare was, because Nightmare actually was a successful movie when it came out, and it's been a successful movie since the beginning. And Casper was a fairly successful movie. I wouldn't call that a cult classic. I think this is the
definition.
I think this is a fair definition of a cult classic. Absolutely.
And it is 1993's Hocus Pocus, released by Disney Studios, starring
Bette Midler.
And that's it?
Well, she's the star.
Among others.
You also have Sarah Jessica Parker.
Never heard of her.
Kathy Najimy.
I like her. She's fun.
Omri Katz. Thora Birch. And...
you got this.
You threw me off. I
thought it was on your computer screen.
Well, not the cast.
Just the year the movie was made. That's all. It was just the number 1993.
It's the big screen that says 1993, but literally, it doesn't give me like a cast list.
There's no cast list. You don't
on Wikipedia, so I'm gonna play and.
There's a big cast list right here. You said Omar Katz, Thora Birch,
Omri Katz,
him too,
Vanessa Shaw,
I like
Doug Jones. And
Doug Jones.
For all you NCIS fans out there, Sean Murray from Timothy McGee.
Except for Jason Marsden doing his voice.
And Jason Marsden is the voice of Binks. Those are the main ones.
Yeah, those are the big ones. So before we get too deep into this movie, Shawn.
Too deep.
Yeah, too deep. Because this movie has a fan base all itself. Like, this has now become a staple of Halloween viewings. You can't even turn on a channel like Freeform or...
Yeah, Freeform, Disney Plus. I mean, it's definitely within the last 15 years, I'd say, really has kind of cemented itself as, one of those true Halloween classics.
I would agree with that. So, for you, do you remember seeing this movie for the first time?
Definitely did not see it in theaters. I probably saw it on the Disney Channel, or my cousins, I believe, had it on video. This movie actually creeped me out when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That opening scene was hard to watch, with them sucking the life out of the little girl. And for the longest time, I thought that girl was dead, but actually, like, in recent viewings over the last year or two...
Oh, you see her moving.
So it's even creepier to me, like, that she's not dead. She's actually still alive.
Oh, she's fine.
But she aged well. That it's a movie that I definitely it grew on me over the years because as you get older, you respect the over the top performances that the three actresses give. They just ham it up, and they're having a great time. You can tell,
and it's so quotable.
Oh, absolutely. And Bette Midler, I mean, she doesn't run from this movie. She embraces it. To the point where I think at one of her concerts in the last couple of years, she came out on stage dressed as the character.
As Winifred.
She's openly said that this is best time she ever had making a movie.
That's awesome to hear because
oh, absolutely.
Especially these movies that some actors and actresses are only known for. Like if you told me Omri Katz,
yeah.
Like if you were like, oh, that actor, I'd be like, who? You'd be like, oh, Max from Hocus Pocus, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know.
Do you remember the show Eerie, Indiana on the Disney Channel? You remember that at all?
Oh, vaguely.
He was on that. That was the only thing I knew him from.
Yeah, not really too much of a career. And then Thora Birch, I know her obviously from American Beauty.
She's had a good career. She was a big child actress, and but she's done a lot as an adult as well.
Yeah.
Vanessa Shaw, I believe I know she was on a really popular TV show, and I'm blanking on which one it was. Ray Donovan. That was it. She was a supporting cast member.
I was going to say she was in Corky Romano. That's what I remember her from. Come on. But I do love Corky Romano. It's such a terrible movie, and I love a good terrible movie. And obviously, the cat would go on to portray Salem in the.
I did read that. You're right.
That's
a good little trivia fact. Very good.
So. Do we have any technical stuff about this to start off with? Because usually before we jump into the plot, we talk about the fun stuff. Anything fun about this movie?
That's a very good.
You got this,
question.
Man. You got this.
You got me all like.
Well, the idea for the film came up in one night by David Kirshner. I believe that's his name. Is that?
Yeah, producer David Kirshner. Him and his young daughter were sitting outside, and a black cat strayed by, and he basically just invented a little story about how the cat was once a kid and was changed into the cat by witches. Then the script took life back in the early 80s by Mick Garris, who is a fairly decent horror director. He makes a lot of adaptations of Stephen King novels. He's done a lot of TV. And it was bought by Disney back in 1984. And it was originally titled Disney's Halloween House. It's supposed to be much scarier, darker.
And younger kids.
Yeah, it was supposed to be all 12 years old. It was pitched to Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, but at the time, Spielberg saw Disney as a competitor, so he didn't want to
make a film,
co-produce a film with his rival. But 5 years later, he ended up doing that anyway with Roger Rabbit.
Ironically,
pretty much. In terms of any other background stuff, not really.
Well, they did
much.
a lot. They did a lot of rewrites to the script to make it more family friendly, make it funnier, and they changed, like we said, originally all three protagonists were 12 years old, and they changed two of them to teenage levels.
Yeah.
So, I would say Max is probably 15 in this.
I'd say 15, 16.
Well, he can't drive. He's got his bike.
That's true.
With no shoes. So,
but he knows how to handle a car. I mean, you see him in the movies driving.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does drive the car. So obviously he knows a thing or two. Dude.
Probably got his learner's permit.
Yeah. See, this is my favorite time of movies because the California stereotypes were the most stereotypical. The dude, they make fun of the dudes and the far outs and all those 90s slangs. Tubular, get out of here with his tie-dye shirt.
The original Leonardo DiCaprio was originally offered the lead role of Max, but he declined and pursued What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Have you ever seen?
I don't know. Omri Katz looks a lot older than DiCaprio does in that movie. I'm wondering.
Well, DiCaprio had a baby face for a long time.
Yeah,
he always looked really young.
You're not wrong.
Now, this movie did not do well.
No, it did not. Shockingly. One other fun fact I just found: while filming, it takes place obviously in Salem, Massachusetts, but most of the filming was done in California, except for 2 weeks. They actually filmed in the town of Salem, Massachusetts. The school where they trapped the witches in the kiln. That's actually Salem. The town hall where they have the party at the beginning. That's actually Salem, and the obviously the cemetery where he is get his shoes stolen by the two
Oh,
bullies.
yeah.
And there's an actual village in or around Salem, Pioneer Village, and it's literally a whole village designed to look like back in the 1600s and stuff, and that's where they filmed the opening scene. So I thought that was pretty cool.
All right, so that's just a little bit behind the scenes stuff, a little bit of the technical stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to go plot point by plot point, hocus by pocus, and put a spell on all of you guys with our full recap of Hocus Pocus. But first, a quick break. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by Rayz Energy Drinks. Rayz is a proud member of Rep Sports, and if you guys are looking for a little extra kick during your day, whether you need to tackle a workout or you need to get over that afternoon slump, you can always check out Rayz Energy, and if you get to checkout and you enter the code CINEMATIC, not only will you be getting a 15% discount, but you'll also be supporting the network. So that's Rayz Energy with Rep Sports. Code is CINEMATIC, CINEMATIC. All right, we are back, and we are finally ready to go plot point by plot point for 1993, because that's the thing that Shawn had prepared the most, the year of the movie.
Hey, man.
1993's Hocus Pocus.
I'm here for the facts.
You're here for the facts.
You can talk about everything else. The year the movie came out, there I am. That's
just the facts, man. Now let's start off with this movie is dark. Like, the opening scene is exceptionally dark. So the movie starts off in 1693, 1963, 20 years ago. No. So in 1693 in Salem, Massachusetts, on, of course, Halloween Day, the morning of Halloween. And Thackeray Banks, who is...
Thackeray Banks. Sorry.
Technical stuff and somewhat okay impersonations of small children. Pretty much, yeah, that's where we're at. So... young Thackeray Banks wakes up and he sees his sister is missing, and he goes outside to his village where one of the village, like his friends, I guess, another teenager, they're all wearing the same pajamas because that's all they could afford. Is out there. He's like, hey,
man, you woke up with the same thing I did.
Oh my God, what are the odds?
Like, does anybody ask what the hell to wear around here?
Even better, they're not wearing shoes. I'm like, it's Halloween.
It's also very rocky.
Yeah. So he notices that his sister Emily is missing, and he sees her being summoned into the woods after he hears the song of which sister is it? Sarah Jessica Parker?
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah.
Wow,
the easiest one. Yeah. Because Sarah is able to enchant children to... I know, you just caught that.
Caught that.
Oh, God, I can't...
Oh.
So she's enchanting Emily to come to the witch's home where...
You can just hear the song right when he wakes up. Like, they obviously don't put a lot of focus on it until later in the movie, where it's like obviously a big, huge scene.
Big production,
but you can really just hear it going on. And I love when he comes out of his house and the friend's like, the witches are up to something.
Well, he sees the smoke, the pink smoke.
Yeah.
So Thackeray tells his friend to
Sorry,
go.
I keep saying Thackeray. I just keep thinking Zachary. But
yeah, I know, right? It's a lot of effort on my part to not say Zachary each time. I have to say Thackeray Banks in my head before I say it. So if there's ever a delay, it's purely because I'm really working hard at it. So Thackeray tells his friend to go tell the village elders, get his father, do all this. He's going to go try and save his sister.
He's only one house down. Go get him.
He's literally around the corner. Go get him. I'm going to start running. So Thackeray runs into the forest, and he manages to get to the witch's house, and their goal is to suck the lives out of children to become young and beautiful.
That's not creepy at all.
As we mentioned, the witches are Winifred, played by Bette Midler, Sarah, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, and Mary Sanderson played by Kathy. How do you say it?
I think you were going to say Kathy Najimy. I was like,
Najimy, yes, thank you.
Backwards there, a little.
So basically, each of them kind of have like their own little thing. So
Winifred is the lead.
She's the boss. She does all the spell work.
Sarah's the airhead.
And she can use her siren singing voice.
And then Mary is kind of like the comic relief.
And she can smell out children.
That's right, which is
creepy when I said it out loud.
There's funny moments with that, but it's
So they manage to capture Emily, and they start performing the spell on her to take her youth. But Thackeray does intervene, and he knocks over the cauldron. And I love these cheesy moments of it. Like, that's some of the funniest things. But Bette Midler does have the best opening line. Like, what another glorious morning. It sickens me. So even though Thackeray is able to stop them, they're still able to use some of the potion to absorb just the life out of Emily.
Yes.
And Emily, so there's Emily is technically dead, the character, but you can see the actress, the young actress, is still sitting there. She's moving. She's trying not to. It's very funny. Like when they cover her up.
Yeah.
So, but there's like a shot where it's supposed to be like her dead body just sitting there, and everybody's like, "Oh no, this is a family-friendly film." So the village elders eventually get to the house where they confront them, but before they are able to, they decide that they're going to punish Thackeray by turning him into a cat forever, an immortal cat, until they're finally defeated. So extra defeated. So the townsfolk manage to get there and capture the women, the witches, and they're gonna hang them because, yeah.
And you see them hang, do you? Like, you see the feet dangling.
Yeah. So, Thackeray's friend is Elijah.
That's easier to say.
Elijah, Thackeray's friend. Oh God, that was a rough one.
What do we name him? I like Zachary. No, I like Thackeray.
Like Thackeray Banks.
Thackeray. What?
So Winifred's able to scare them.
I think that should be your kid's name, Thackeray.
Get out of here. My wife would kill me.
I think she'd appreciate that.
I don't think she would. It's weird how you say that. We're going to ask producer Melanie when this is all done. So we also see that Winifred has a magical book that has an eye and basically a soul of its own. It's almost like a living...
She casts a spell before they hang them.
Yeah, because they managed to scare the townsfolk into dropping the book.
Yeah.
And the book opens, and they're able to cast a spell that if a virgin... Because this was during the time where you could say virgin and not have to worry about explaining it to your kids.
Yeah.
Monster Squad.
Mm.
Yeah. By the way, our friends over at Waffle Punch podcast, they just did their episode on Monster Squad. It's very entertaining.
Oh.
Yeah, they did like a watch along with their kids. It was
okay.
It was
we got to do that.
Yeah, we got to do something like that. But they gave us a shout out for on Instagram, and I wanted to make sure that you guys go check them out. They're really good.
Oh, definitely listen to that.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Anything with Monster Squad, you got me.
Yeah, my name is Horace. But anyway, good job, fat kid. This was during all this time, like this.
It's that
cusp of it.
80s, early 90s, and again, it's as a kid, you knew what the word meant, but it was funny because they would. This was the first time that
doesn't count.
This is the first time where it was, like a virgin was. They actually, tied it to a boy.
Yeah,
because it was always like, it has to be a girl,
pure of heart and all that.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I'm like, you do know all, like in Monster Squad, like all these people are virgins, except for the sister.
Yeah,
except for the older sister. Doesn't count. Love that.
But so the spell is that if a virgin lights the black flame candle on All Hallows Eve during a full moon, very oddly specific, that they'll be resurrected to continue their mission. And Thackeray decides he's going to be a cat forever and guard the Sanderson tomb. I do find it interesting that Thackeray can talk, but he didn't tell his dad, "Hey, I'm over here," because like the dad's like,
the dad like kicks the cat away.
Yeah, he's like, "What did you do to my kid?" And they're all like, "Oh, cat's got my tongue." Yeah, Winifred Sanderson is like the queen of puns and just dad jokes. I love it. So 300 years later, we got Max Dennison, and he and his family have just moved to Salem, Massachusetts from Los Angeles, California. And we get
such a culture shock.
Oh my God! And that's the joke of it.
Well, that's
obviously.
the joke. It's all the kids in Salem are just like Hollywood. Yeah.
So we cut back to the present where the teacher is telling this story of the Sanderson systems. I guess every year they do.
Yeah,
and
it's their big, like this is our Halloween story.
Yeah, and also it's Halloween in Salem of all places. History. Famous for it's the Salem witch trials and all that. And Max is the typical, "Oh, give me a break. All this stuff is stupid. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus."
Name drop.
Yeah,
love it.
So obviously he's just not feeling it. He's getting bullied by the other kids in her school. Ice and what's the other kid? Ice and Jay. They steal his shoes. They wanted a pack of cigarettes from him. I'm like, wow, you can't do that no more. Apparently, just smoking gets you a PG rating automatically. A lot of people won't even do smoking in their stuff anymore. So strange. So Zach. Now I got Zach in my head.
Sorry.
You got Thackeray and Max. This is going to be rough. So Max has also got a crush on the girl in his class, Allison, who's all about Halloween. Like she's like, my family.
She's all about the history.
Yeah, my family owned the Sanderson Museum and all that stuff. So, and of course he tries to give her his number like very awkwardly. Like it was like, yeah, I'm really confident, except when I don't want to be. So after he gets his shoes stolen by the town bullies, ironically they took his shoes and not his bike. I feel like that would be the much more like bully thing to do.
But those were nice shoes.
Those were nice shoes. He goes home and he has one of the coolest rooms in movie history. He's got a loft in his room.
He's got a loft, like a staircase,
like the spiral staircase, and like a
got his own
watchtower.
Drum set.
And we get introduced to his sister Dani. Dani is, they never say it, but 10, 11, kind of that age. I
think she might even be younger.
She's still young enough to go trick or treating and want to go trick or treating, and she convinces their parents to make Max take them out trick-or-treating while the parents go to a Halloween party in town. And Mom, she's Madonna with the cones, and so they're out trick-or-treating, and Max runs into the bullies again, and unfortunately it's a whole scene. He gives up half the candy, and Dani gets upset and starts crying, and they have their nice little brother-sister moment where it's like, no, come on, we're a team, we're gonna keep going. And they end up at this giant mansion.
I just love it. They walk inside and
trick or treat,
and they're just like, "Oh, look at all this!" And they just
start stealing
like all the candy into their bag, and I was like, "Wow, okay."
So it turns out to be Allison's family's house, and they're having a big Halloween party. Allison is dressed as like a Victorian,
Victorian,
heiress or something like that, like Elizabeth Swann from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pretty much. That's a good description there.
And of course, we get one of my favorite lines in the entire movie, where Danny's like, I could never wear something like that because I don't have, what do you call them, Max? Yabos? Max loves your yabos. I that always gets me because it's Max's pure look of horror. Now, Allison is telling them that the Sanderson sisters were totally real and this is all real and like the magic and all that. And so he, in an effort to impress her and kind of get her to like hang out with them, he's like, well, prove me that they are, it was real and all this. So they go inside what used to be the Sanderson home, and now it's a museum. And they're searching around, and they get attacked by Thackeray Binks, a black cat. Not before though. Max just has to be that guy and lights the black flame candle because he's a virgin. Nerd. It's even funnier. He still gets friend zoned at the end of this. He spends the night with Allison, still a virgin at the end. He can still light that black flame candle the next day. If you know what I mean.
You don't know what happens after.
She literally goes to sleep on his shoulder.
The sister's right there.
Oh, I know.
It's like, come on,
what
man.
a block.
Know your surroundings.
So yeah, they managed to accidentally resurrect the, and this is a really cool visual scene with like the floorboards shaking and the green lights and all that stuff, and the black flame candle still looks a little doofy when it changes colors.
And then the book, I think the book comes alive.
The book wakes up.
You see the book's eye open up, and obviously the cat. There's some good moments with the cat where it looks realistic, and then obviously you get the Salem.
Whenever it's talking.
Yeah, whenever it's Salem from Sabrina. It's like you can obviously tell it's an animatronic, and stuff like that.
So they end up, or like I said, resurrecting the witches, and they bust in, and they're like, all right.
They're all hiding, and
it's the worst hiding spot. And they think, and Dani tries to convince them that she's the witch that summoned them, and they're like, oh, thank you so much. We're gonna kill you. And she's like,
I just love Kathy and Jimmy and the Mary's like, I smell children, but then see like the subtle things like Sarah Jessica Parker reaches up and like grabs something from a top because it's like something she left there.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, is it still there?
The rat tail.
That's it.
My lucky
rat's tail.
There's some gross out things of this. Dead man's toe. Dead man's toe.
I think doesn't Sarah Jessica Parker like eat a spider? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
There's
some weird
but
things.
But again, you see it. You just see it immediately. Like all three of them are just like just having a good time, and they know what this is. They're going for the funny. They're not with a little bit of Bette Midler goes more for the scary, but the other two are definitely going more for the comedy.
Yeah, I dig it, and it's just they have a very good dynamic. That
I
works
think all three of them work very well together,
and there's a lot of chemistry throughout the cast, which is always good. So unfortunately, they go to actually kill Dani, but Max not only steals the book, but he also finds out that Thackeray can talk.
Nice going.
Because Binks is able to be... Now he just goes by Binks. Binks tells him, hey, keep this book, get out of here, we need to go. So they manage to trick the witches into thinking that he's got magical powers, because... Yeah,
I'm the almighty Max.
Yeah, nothing more terrifying. No, the only Max that's a terrifying magician is the one from Saved by the Bell, thank you very much.
Oh,
Deep cut. Deep cut. But so they use the sprinkler system to make it seem like he does have magic powers because he uses the lighter that he basically steals. They break into this place and steal from it. So They manage to get to an old cemetery because the witches can't step foot upon hallowed ground. And he brings them to the graves of his sister and Billy Butcherson, who is
This is, I'm sorry, but I find this like, he was Winifred's boyfriend, but then he started
he basically slept with Sarah.
He slept with Sarah, so she poisoned him and sewed his mouth shut. Like, whoa. Okay. Well, he was more like he slept with Sarah. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it says when she caught him making out with Sarah.
Caught him making out. And what does making out mean back in the 1600s? She probably was just like shaking her hand.
Yeah, all right. Showed a little ankle.
It's like, hey.
Yeah. But she sewed his mouth shut so that he couldn't tell her secrets even in death. So the witches eventually do manage to catch up to them. They are on the brooms at this point, right? They're using brooms first, and then they have to use the other stuff later. Yeah. So they can't land in the cemetery, so she actually resurrects Billy to go capture them. Played by Doug Jones. One very famous physical effect actor. Prosthetics, anything like that.
He just did, not just, but, Shape of Water.
Shape of Water. He did Hellboy before that.
Hellboy. He does a lot of Guillermo del Toro stuff.
He's very talented. And he's one of those guys that you've seen without it, and you just don't even know.
Yeah, you would never know. So.
He did an episode of The Flash. Like, he's been around. So Billy starts chasing them, and they have to escape through the sewer system. Because Binks knows this. Being immortal.
They change mice down here all the time.
Yeah. Oh, man, can you only imagine? That's horrible. But so the witches then are now trying to acclimate to this new century, basically, and they accidentally get on the bus.
I love that. I love when they don't know what the road is. What is this? It's solid. And she pushes Sarah. It's solid. Okay.
And then they get on the bus with the bus driver who really wanted it. He was trying.
What was the line? Oh, here. What was
double, boil in trouble.
No, when we require children. Well, it might take me a few tries, but I was just like,
there's your adult humor, everyone.
I was like, I love
But basically, Sarah is the adult humor in this because, boobs. But anyway, yabos. Nothing but Sarah Jessica Parker in this. Nothing but yabos. So they end up, and this is like one of the scenes in the movie that just kind of always feels misplaced for me for some reason. They end up at, quote unquote, the devil's house.
This was funny.
It's very funny.
Plus the fact that it's Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall.
Yes.
And it's even weirder that brother and sister, but they're playing married couple. But that was funny.
So basically, everybody's out trick-or-treating.
Oh, yeah.
The kids are out, and they don't realize that these are just children at first. And they think all this is real. So they end up at a house where the homeowner is dressed like the devil, giving out candy, and they think he's the actual devil. So they end up going inside and having basically a Halloween party while his wife's upstairs. If I invited in 3 floozies dressed in Halloween costumes on Halloween, my wife would actually murder me.
Yeah, probably.
Get a virgin in the black flame candle because Paul's gone. We need to bring him back somehow.
Well, no, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate you. Doesn't count. But anyway, so they eventually realize that this is all fake. It's all kids and costumes and candy and not real in any way, shape, or form. So they're able to track the kids using Mary's smelling sense. And Winifred also reveals that the spell that brought them back only works on Halloween unless they can suck the life out of at least one child. So that's their goal. And and at first they're like, well, why don't we just do any of these children? Well, we need the book, and now we want revenge. So that's why they're so hell-bent on getting the book back, and also that they want to kill Max and Danny. So Max, Danny, and Allison are able to make it to City Hall, where they find their parents at the Halloween party. Now, this is arguably the most iconic scene of the movie, which is
probably
the I Put a Spell on You dance number. And
you got to give Bette Midler a song.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have Bette Midler in your movie? She's got to sing something. But so Max tries to warn all the partygoers that the Sanderson sisters are not only real, but they're here and they're going to kill all these kids.
Yeah.
And Winifred's like, oh, yeah, thank you for that intro, Max. I love it. She kills it in this movie. So she ends up using her powers to do a song and dance number with the rest of the sisters, and they enchant all the adults, basically, because that's where all the adults are. Every single adult.
Pretty much. I mean, there's like no adults. That's how small the town is. It's like
they got siblings. All the siblings are taking their kids out trick-or-treating, or the kids are already back home asleep. I don't remember my parents like ever leaving me at home to sleep and they're going out partying. Like, even if it's just down the road, because it's not that far.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they're able to put all of the partygoers into a trance, but at the same time, Billy's still chasing them.
And he shows up to the
because he tries to like grab them, and they're like ah. Very like again a very 90s trope, a very 80s trope with like the monster that's misunderstood and you think is a bad guy, and then you find out he's not.
Yeah.
So they managed to get to the high school because they're like, you know what, we're gonna trick these witches. And this is like one of the weirder scenes with Max where he does like the DJ bit, and he's like super aggressive about it, and he's just like, and the Sandersons, like, okay, all right, take it down a notch, Max, you got them, don't worry, man, like, you good. So they managed to, again, a little dark, trap the witches in the kiln using a boombox with their recorded audio, and then burn them alive. Dark. And of course, you know, they're all like, yeah, best night ever, woo! They're outside like the school just dancing because, you know, the school's totally unlocked and unsupervised. Oh, we did miss the part with the fake cop.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So they go up to a cop on a motorcycle, and they're like, oh, all these bad things. Have you been drinking? And like this guy starts like really messing with them, and then we find out he's just a guy in a costume also, and like the floozy that he's with gets on the back of the bike. It's a very funny scene. So they go back to their house, and they're like, yeah, we did it. We're just, you know, Binks, you're going to live with me, and we're going to be best friends, and then you're going to be best friends with my kids and their kids. And I wanted Binks to be like, the hell I am? This is a little much. We just met.
It's like, I'm kind of hoping I turn back into a kid. Or...
Well, Binks he immediately gets attached to Dani because she reminds him
of his sister. Yeah.
We also do get the scene where he gets hit by a car.
The bus.
Yeah, he gets hit by the bus, and
you see the cat like, you know, run
flattened.
over, and then you just kind of see it's probably in like reverse shot where it's like, you know,
and he inflates back up.
That was hard to watch as a kid.
It's still hard to watch.
Yeah, that was hard.
Have
to
you
watch.
met my wife?
Wow.
Yeah. So we do find out that Binks is immortal. He can't die, which we already knew. So they're celebrating, and of course, Allison is like, "Yo, you want to see what else is in this book? We could try and turn Binks back into a person." That's their goal. They want to turn Binks back to normal. Mm-hmm. So of course they decide to open the book. As soon as they open the book, a beacon gets shot out through the ceiling up into the sky.
And they don't know that. They don't notice that.
No, not even. They're still just sitting there like nothing's going on. The book's glowing.
The book is glowing. Should we like?
We should have closed this maybe.
Yeah. Really.
So, unfortunately, it resurrects the witches. Binks tries to stop them because he jumps on the book and he starts yelling at them for opening it. And of course, the witches come back. Oh, because that's just the way it goes. So, this open spellbook also reveals where they are. So the witches manage to track them down. They kidnap Dani and Binks and get the spellbook back. I like how we also learn about the salt thing, and you see Allison just throwing the salts everywhere, just going to town with it. So
that salt should have been out like right away.
Oh yeah, unless it was totally full. So Sarah then uses her in the second musical number of this movie, uses her "Come Little Children" song to get all the kids basically to walk out of their houses and start going to the Sanderson house.
Creepy.
It is a creepy scene, and just like, it gives me like chills a little bit.
Now, one thing I'm not sure is that actually her singing? I think it is.
I think it might be, and just, you know, with a little bit of audio tweaking, a little bit of editing.
I don't know if she's ever done any other musicals or anything like that.
I don't. That's a great question. So they managed to get back to the Sanderson house, and you know they're not sure. We got Dani's trapped. Also, somehow they managed to capture the two bullies.
That's right.
Yeah, so the bullies are there, locked up in the cages, still wearing Max's shoes, which is even better. So we get Max and Allison show up, and they trick the witches into thinking that sunrise was coming early because of daylight savings time. And basically they just use the car.
Yeah.
And I guess Allison is outside trying to make sunrise noise effects.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Well, she's out there. She's like, come on. And she's like making
she's just
noises.
Whistling to them. She's like trying to be like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to figure this out. Like,
well, because Dani starts ripping into them like, ha, you guys thought you were going to win. You suck. Yeah. I'm pretty sure the cauldron also gets knocked over again, too.
Yeah, because they only have enough
for one.
So it's like history repeating itself.
Yep. So Dani's like, you guys suck. You're going to die. I want to watch. I think she even says, I want to watch them burn. And I'm like, red flag. And that's when he's like, Allison's like, come on. And she's like, never mind, let's go. And they all get in the car and they drive back to the cemetery.
I love when once the witches, they pretty much realize that they're not dead. And I think
because they're all laying on the floor on top of each other.
I think one of the sisters is just like, oh, there's enough left for one kid. Let's just go. There's 100 kids literally about to enter the house. And she's like, no, I want that one. She called me ugly.
Yeah.
That's Bette Midler. It was just such a great.
It is a good one.
She's like starts to cry.
We also have to mention that Max stole his shoes back.
Oh, that's
and they left the bullies in the
Hollywood,
cages.
let us out. And he just takes the shoes, and the guy just starts.
Did they ever say why they didn't just kill those two to begin with?
Because
I think they were too old. Maybe, I don't know.
It would have been funny. It would have been funny if you had like, are you virgins? And they probably would have. It's like, no,
yeah. He's got ice cut into his hair.
Yeah,
this is even better. So they managed to get back to the cemetery, and they get ambushed by Billy again.
Well, they also forget, when obviously they lost the broom, because the brooms get stolen by three little girls, and you actually hear the sound effect of the broom taking off, which is even more hilarious. But of course, like they go into the closet of the museum, and there's one broom, there's a mop. So Sarah takes the mop, and then Mary takes, and I think this might be one of the more memorable scenes in the movie where she takes the vacuum cleaner.
And as it's flying, you hear the sound of the vacuum cleaner.
She turns it on, and she is like, broom ho! And like, I just love that.
Yeah, she was very funny in this. And like, she's got the face tick where she's like, she talks with her face like this.
And then, of course, the scene where Bette Midler is flying next to the car, and she's like, pull over. Let me see your driver's license.
Yep.
This is some good,
Some of these effects have aged well with the broom stuff because it's a lot of practical stuff.
It's practical, and I mean, as long as you don't really like notice the strings, or if it's just done in a very good way, it's very hard to like.
Yeah, and it's all done at nighttime,
age that. I think everything in this, like again, really the only thing is probably like the cat.
Yeah, the cat's the roughest part.
That.
Yeah, which is fine because even that's few and far between.
Yeah.
So, Billy manages to cut his mouth open and. As he does that, moths fly out.
Yeah.
Fun fact, real moths.
Yep. He actually had that in his mouth.
Committed to the role. I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
And then he's like,
wench.
Or is it witch or wench? Wench.
Something like that.
And he's just like, I've waited 300 years to say that.
Yeah.
He goes, whatever, man. Just don't breathe on me.
Yeah. Because he hates them just as much.
Oh, yeah. He despises them.
So now that
I love how Sarah's just like, hey, Billy.
Hey, Billy. Remember? Yeah. Yeah, Sarah's a floozy. But so now, after he insults Winifred, he actually joins them and he helps them. Doesn't his head get knocked off at one point?
Yes.
And he has to go chasing after it?
Yes. And I love where he's walking back to the two girls and they're like ready to like hit him with something. No. He's a good zombie.
Yeah, he's a good zombie. So the witches then attack, but they still can't. They can't land. So they manage to get Max. Max is like, he has the potion, but they have Dani, so he drinks the potion.
Well, Dani was in literally in I think Billy's grave, and they surrounded it with salt just to protect her because they obviously knew that Dani was the one that they wanted.
Yeah, but of course, doesn't she get out?
She gets out because of
Binks?
I think either Binks or it's when Billy's head gets knocked off.
Yeah,
so I think she brings the head back to him.
Here you go, Billy.
And then that's when they get her.
Yeah. So after they manage to catch her, Max takes the potion so that they have to take him.
That was a good scene. Yeah.
It's a very
sacrifices himself.
Self-sacrifice. So they Bette Midler or Winifred
say I'm going to snap her neck at some point. Like there was like a heated moment there.
Yeah.
Like,
the Mexican standoff where it's like if you shoot, I shoot. So they manage to work out a deal, I guess. So they start draining Max's life force, and just as they start, the sun starts to rise, and then they start struggling because Max knows if the sun rises, they're toast, they're done. Yeah. And so this scene always kind of confuses me a little. So I guess because Max manages to get her to fall off her broom, she lands in the graveyard.
Yes.
And when she lands in the graveyard, she turns to stone, but the sunrise causes the other two to start glowing and explode. Yeah,
that was always weird to me too.
I think it's just because she landed
in. So that technically is what got her, and then the sun makes the statue explode.
Yeah.
So, which was a good scene. I always love Captain Jimmy's like bye-bye.
And
I'm really interested to see how they bring them back in the sequel. But
probably with magic.
Probably.
Just I want to see who's coming back for the sequel besides them.
That's a good point. I don't know. I haven't read any other
any casting. There hasn't been a whole lot of news about the sequel. We'll talk a little bit about the sequel. Yeah. So the sun rises, and all the witches are now destroyed, and Binks got injured during the fight, and because the witches are gone, the spell's broken. He's not immortal anymore. And he finally dies, and it frees his soul, and he's reunited with his sister in the afterlife, which is a very nice scene.
Yeah.
And
I had to wait 300 years for a virgin to light a candle.
Yeah. Nerd!
Sister's going, oh, Zachary, what are you talking?
Zachary Binks. And Billy returns to his grave to go back to sleep.
All right.
And
did anyone put dirt? Did they?
Nope. He just put the top back on. Nobody.
Top back on. And then we get the two bullies are still in the
cages singing "Row, row, row your boat." The exhausted partygoers, including Max and Danny's parents, are finally freed from their spells. And you see them walking back, just miserable.
They're like, oh,
because she enchanted them to dance till you die. Yeah. And
I love the dad. The dad's actually still
Yeah, he's still got a little thing going.
It's like, oh man, this place is fun.
The last shot is Winnie's spellbook is seen opening its eye, revealing it is still alive, and that the witches could possibly return. Dun dun dun. I'm done. So that is Hocus Pocus.
Wow, great job, Paul.
Thanks, man. I tried to keep it moving,
So the movie was released on July 16th, 1993. It received mixed reviews from the critics at the time of the release. It was not a critical or commercial success, as we said before. It ultimately lost Disney around $16.5 million during its theatrical run. It doesn't say when, but obviously, through multiple, every Halloween it would air on the Disney Channel, and then eventually on ABC Family, now Freeform, through the month of October, it's been rediscovered by audiences, and it just seems to every year just spike in either
well, it really started
viewings.
It started with the 13 Nights of Halloween on Freeform. That's really where
even Disney Channel would show it back in the day, in the late 90s and stuff, before ABC Family and Freeform existed.
And for those of you guys who don't know, because we do have listeners all over the world, Freeform is a channel in America where it's owned by Disney at this point. It's gone through a lot of different iterations.
Fox Family,
then ABC Family, and then just the Family Channel at one point.
Family Channel was back
maybe that was first.
Family Channel was first, and then Fox bought it, then Disney bought it, and now it's just Freeform because it's more geared towards teenagers now.
Yeah, it's a lot of that stuff. But they started something called 13 Nights of Halloween. Now they do 31 Nights of Halloween.
31's fairly new. They just started doing that a couple years ago.
So 13 Nights, because obviously it's an inversion of 31.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, thank you. I even used the word inversion. So, it really did achieve this cult status. They had it during the, they've done the 25th anniversary bashes. They've done, I think, Shawn, you mentioned the Houston Symphony at D23 in 2013. They had the cast member return for it, and all these cast members really do love the movie, and you hear very good things about it. What are your thoughts on Hocus Pocus? If you had to explain it to somebody, what would you say?
It's just, again, as we've done numerous times on this podcast, we just like talking about movies that we grew up with, and movies that, yes, they're movies that we enjoy, but they've also got a fan base out there that consists of a lot of people our age, and you just like to, push that to other people. It's like, hey, have you seen this movie? Definitely want to check this out, and it grows and grows. Obviously, we, watched this movie when we were younger. There were obviously older kids who now show it to their kids. It's just continuous, just like, every movie we talked about, Nightmare Before Christmas, Casper, it's just one of those that's grown and has become just, I wouldn't say a cultural phenomenon, but
a Halloween phenomenon.
A Halloween, definitely a Halloween classic.
Yeah, you can't go through Halloween without watching it at least once.
No, you can't. It actually, during the COVID-19 pandemic last October, right when movie theaters were, still open, but there were no brand new movies coming out, Hocus Pocus was re-released to theaters, to over 2,500 theaters in the country, and it made $2 million over the weekend, and stuff like that. So it actually made money. People actually went to the theater to go see that.
Oh, absolutely.
And stuff. It was big. There were some drive-ins that were showing it and stuff like that. So it's funny when you read again. What was it we were talking about? It wasn't Casper. It wasn't Casper. I can't remember what movie we're talking about. Where again, we're just going on about the critics, and we're just like, what are you looking for in this movie? Like, what do you not understand? Like, there are just movies that people just want to enjoy. Like,
we don't need 1,000% logic all the time.
No, I mean, it's about entertainment.
Yeah,
they didn't go making this movie expecting to change the world. It's just like,
ironically they did though.
Pretty much. I mean, it's like, here, I'm just going to give you a couple little remarks. Gene Siskel remarked that the film was a dreadful witches comedy. A dreadful witches comedy. Okay. Only tolerable moment came when Bette Midler did the song "I Put a Spell on You." Roger Ebert gave the film 1 star out of a possible 4. That it was a confusing cauldron in which there was great activity but little progress and a lot of hysterical shriek. Like, what movie were you watching? How was this movie confusing?
It's funny because like we do a lot of movies.
We're kids and we freaking get this, man. Come on.
We do a lot. We do our Star City ratings for almost every movie that we do, and it's funny because now we've been doing Star City ratings like, as a movie, it's this, but like for just the enjoyment factor, it's this, and that's what people tend to forget. You're watching a movie to be entertained. Am I entertained by this? Absolutely. Yeah. And then it's even funnier. Like when Venom came out, it was like, oh, it's only an hour and a half. That's silly. That's stupid. This movie was 93 minutes.
Yeah.
Like you can do a lot with this kind of thing, and obviously at this point now, it's made its money back, which is even funnier.
Oh, well, I mean, geez, over the years, with VHS sales and then DVD sales. And, I'm sure with, everything else, again, it was re-released in theaters last year, so that made another, $2 million, which is basically, almost like a quarter of what it made, during its initial run.
Which is crazy.
When you think about it. Now, I think I read that it was released in July because it wanted to take advantage of kids being home from school. I mean, I'm sure if they released that movie actually during the Halloween, during October, would it have made more money? Maybe. But, again, I'm kind of shocked it didn't do all that well. Maybe just parents didn't know what kind of movie it was going to be. Like, do we bring our kids to this? Do we not bring our kids to this? Is this more, adult humor? Is this more kid humor? We don't know. I don't know what the what am I thinking of?
You got this, man.
What the studio was driving with, like, the promotional aspect of this movie. What were they promoting it towards kids? Were they promoting it towards adults?
Well, also it got released in July.
Well, that's what I just said. It was released in July to take advantage of that the kids were home from school, so they thought it would make more money during the summer, which I get.
I see the logic, but in all honesty, like,
it's like releasing a Christmas movie in July. It's like, okay, but I get it, but I just feel like you got to know your audience. It's like a Halloween movie should be released at Halloween. I mean, like the new Halloween movie, the new Michael Myers movie. It's released this week. We're 2 weeks away from Halloween.
That's perfect.
You can't release it any other time. I think like some of the sequels came out like back in like summer, and I'm
summer slasher movies. Yeah.
What are we doing here? But the legacy of this movie has just grown so much. They actually they've added the Three Witches to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which is a huge annual event at Disney World. Excuse me. I think you said the Houston Symphony, which does various horror Halloween classics, included Hocus Pocus, like a musical like thing with that. So it's really grown. I mean, D23 they had the cast return
for the anniversary
and stuff like that. So and now we got the sequel, which has been rumored for years. But they finally, got a script they liked. They got all 3 of them back. At least that's, we know that. But we don't know anything else.
We literally know nothing about this movie.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm intrigued. Again, it's been
It's more than 25 years.
Yeah, I'm like doing math in my head. Almost 30 years.
Yep.
Basically.
Oh.
So almost 30. It comes out next year, so it'll be just 29 years. Since the first one came out, so I'm intrigued, and I'll definitely see. It's Disney Plus only, so it's not going to be theatrical.
Which is fine. That's like a thing now.
Well, it's because they probably know, like, again, the whole movie going to the movies thing is still up in the air, but definitely a lot of studios are aiming for the streaming and stuff. But Yeah, no. This was fun. What's I guess you want to do Star City rating?
Yeah, I want to do Star City ratings. You want to go first?
Sure. I'm going to give this movie 3.5.
3.5. All right, so well above average.
Well above average. Very, very well done. Very
I think I'll stand by that as well. It is a great movie. It is a perfect Halloween movie. It's one of those movies that when it's on, I leave it on. If it's if I see it on, I'll turn it on just during the Halloween time. And I'll put a spell on you. It's just one of the catchiest earworms you're ever going to enjoy. But yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed Hocus Pocus, and I'm glad we finally got to do our episode on it. I know producer Melanie wanted to be in, but we got too many other things going on right now.
Yeah, I know. I still can't believe we didn't do this last year. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I don't remember why. I think we wanted to save it for.
It was very much like
in our infancy.
It was very much like Nightmare Before Christmas. We thought other people would want to be involved.
Yeah,
and we kind of held off.
But before we wrap up, we do have some exciting news. We have been able to contact a podcast publicist who's been helping us out a little bit, and we have a series of interviews lined up for the next couple of weeks that we're going to be recording. In fact, our first one is later this afternoon at the time of recording. We have some interviews with other podcasters to kind of talk about their craft and talk about their shows and kind of some other podcast-related stuff. But we do have a couple of minor celebrities that we've connected with that we're going to be doing interviews with, so keep an eye out on our Facebook page. We're going to announce those as they come. We're super excited for some of them, and yeah, you can find us on Facebook at the Cinematic Adventures. You can also find us at the Misfit Faction on Facebook. There you'll find links to Fan Feedback Friday, which we're going to do before we wrap up, but I wanted to announce that before I totally forgot, because we're going to have a fair amount of interviews probably once a month for the next couple of months, so we're super excited to be trying something new and something different. So let's go to Fan Feedback Friday, because that's basically what it reacted to. Actually, I lied. We're not going to do Fan Feedback Friday today.
Why not?
Because we didn't get a fan feedback.
Oh, we didn't get any feedback at all?
No, I think I posted it a little bit too late, so got a couple of likes though. But I may edit out this whole sequence. No, but we will have some interviews coming up over the next couple of weeks. So if you have anybody that you think we should interview, let us know. Some famous movie or TV actors. We're going to put our feelers out and see what we can get. But you can also find us on YouTube, the Misfit Faction Media Network. You can find us on Instagram, Misfit Faction, and you can find us, like I said, at our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you'll find links to all of our material, good, the bad, the ugly, all that. So I think that's going to wrap us up for today. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Shawn.
And we'll be back next week with another Halloween movie that we definitely haven't thought of yet. Bye.
Adios.